Good evening, President Martinez, Board Trustees, and Superintendent Aquino. This evening we have a brief budget update for you. We want to review the values underlying our budget process. We will commit to be balanced and share the good news and the not so good. We will build trust with our stakeholders by being transparent. We'll strive to keep our information understandable, and we'll align our budget decisions to board goals, guardrails, and always learning. This evening, we are going to be bringing you the cost of various different compensation scenarios that we've been working on since we received your direction at the budget workshop last month. We'll also be reviewing an overview of the topics that we're preparing for the next budget work session on March 27th. Jill Rhodes-Pruin is going to be providing an update on the campus administrative staffing plan, and we will be reviewing our upcoming dates in our budget calendar. We have 7 different compensation scenarios to share with you tonight, and I just want to give you a little overview about this format. First of all, we're going to concentrate on the cost for the general fund only. We know that all of our grants and other funds can absorb the compensation increase that we end up with, and we're just basically going to be worried about how these fit into the general fund, so we're going to only be showing the costs for the general fund. And we are going to be showing basically the 5 years recurring costs for these raises, because this is going to be plugged into our long-term sustainability plan, and so you'll be able to track those numbers as they get plugged into our long-term plan. So each column basically has its own annual cost, and this, if we give a compensation increase in 23-24, then that is basically a recurring annual expense, and so you'll see it captured, and we're basically just carrying it out the 5 years to align to our sustainability plan. So our first scenario is a 3% general pay increase, and that is basically the same exact raise for every raise percent for all permanent full-time employees. And so the annual cost for this 3% general pay increase for the general fund is $10.7 million and cumulatively $53.5 million. The second compensation scenario we prepared is a 6% general pay increase, the same pay increase percentage for all permanent full-time employees, and the annual cost of that scenario is $21.4 million. What I wanted to mention also that we had included a little bit more detail on this slide, so we're showing the cost by major roles. So you can see that roughly the cost of the pay increase for teachers is about half, a little more than half of the cost for all employees. And then you can see other role categories that you may be interested in. The third compensation scenario that we prepared is a 9% general pay increase, and you can see that the annual cost for that pay increase is $32.1 million. Fourth scenario that we prepared is something a little different. It's basically the consideration of possibly adopting a pay increase for this next year, but also announcing the intention for a pay increase the subsequent year. In Texas, we're not able for the board to actually approve and formally adopt compensation for the subsequent year, but it would be acceptable if the board is so inclined to actually just voice the intention for a plan, and it would be, it could be a strategy that may be of interest. And this particular scenario that we are outlining is a 4% general pay increase in the next year, 23-24, followed by a 2% general pay increase the subsequent year. And the cost in the first year for the 4% would be $14.3 million, and then the cost for the second year and all subsequent years would layer on the additional 2%, and that would be $21.4 million. The fifth scenario that we prepared is a general pay increase for all employees except teachers, and then the teachers would have a different pay scenario. And just to give you a little background, I think we've discussed this probably many times over the years, but our wish would be to be able to work on the teacher pay scale to improve the pay differentiation as the teachers gain more years of tenure. Right now, the differences between the years is not very great, and so this particular pay strategy would help address that by increasing the raise amount as you go up the scale with larger numbers of years of tenure. So this particular scenario shows a 2% general pay increase for all other employees besides teachers, and then teachers with an entry pay scale up to 4 years of tenure would receive that same 2% general pay increase, but then there would be some increases as we go up the scale. 3% for teachers with years 5 through 9, 6% for 10 through 14, and for any teacher with more than 15 years of experience for pay, it would be 9%. And the cost of that pay option is $12.6 million per year. The sixth scenario that we prepared is similar, a little bit different. This particular scenario has a 3% general pay increase for all employees except teachers, and then again, working on the teacher pay scale, pay differentiation. It would have a smooth progression of an increase in pay. So the very first entry pay year would have a raise of 3%, and then every year thereafter there's a 0.3% incremental raise all the way up to 20 years of tenure, and that would be at 9%, and then any year beyond 20 would stay at 9%. And the cost of that scenario is $16 million per year, and of that raise amount annually, the cost of the teacher pay scale, the teacher raise would be $10.9 million of that. The scenario that we prepared is very similar to the one that I just showed, number 6, but this one is a 3% general pay increase for all permanent full-time employees except teachers, and then again the working on the teacher pay scale differentiation for years of tenure, and this one would go between 3% at year 0 to 6% at 20 years of tenure, with an incremental raise of 0.15% for each year of tenure. The cost of this scenario is $13.5 million, with the teacher portion being $8.3 million. And so that concludes all of the raise scenarios that we wanted to show you. And again, as mentioned, we'd like to hear from you as far as seeing these different options, what other types of options you may wish to have us bring back to you next Monday, and we can cost them out or bring back the details that you request. And this next slide is just basically the topics that we're working on to actually address and bring to you next Monday for the budget workshop. You will receive a legislative update from Anna and Alicia. We'll be discussing our Always Learning budget priorities. You'll hear more about the campus administrative staffing plan. We will be reviewing the compensation options for 2023-24, and we will factor those into our budget sustainability plan. And we will be wrapping up and reviewing our upcoming dates and other logistics in our budget calendar. placeholder is just to let you know that you will be receiving a separate presentation from Jill Rhodes-Pruin about this campus administrative staffing topic, but could not be prepared in time to send out in advance because the principals are still working on their staffing and she's still gathering data and analyzing the data. So she will be prepared to send that out on Monday, March 20th, the day before the board meeting. And this is our upcoming budget calendar, which we're looking forward to the budget workshop that we have next Monday night. Let's conclude my presentation, and thank you very much.